Hey everybody, Star Guy here. As always, thank you so much for tuning in today. We're going to be covering who I believe to be the most powerful female in all of Star Wars. And no, it's not Leia. No, it's not Mon Mothma. Although those are very powerful women indeed, just a different type of power than the female we're going to be talking about here today. It's not even one of the new prominent female Jedi figures that we're seeing come about in the High Republic series. And ladies, I'm very excited that they're exploring that, but today we're talking about another one named Lor San Tekka. Now that name probably doesn't ring a bell because she's a fairly new character, at least to my knowledge, introduced in the new High Republic book about 2 months ago, and she's a great one. Why do I believe she's the most powerful? Because she controls hyperspace. At the age of 6, she noticed this little tingle, essentially, a power awakening within her that allowed her to see hyperspace shortcuts. She was just on a trip with her family one day, and it was just kind of an itching, and a whole industry was born out of it. I mean, she became a hyperlane prospector, a very famous and respectful one at that. Her whole family actually took up the trade and became the preeminent corporation and solution for hyperspace travel, at least safely. So this was an innate ability. She could just see it in her mind, do those complex calculations that hyperspace computers, nav computers, and droids do in the movies and books that we're seeing that happen in. So very amazing ability, as you can imagine. Unfortunately, Mari's story isn't all roses in this case. She gets kidnapped by the Nihil, who is one of the new villains in the new books, led up by Asgar Ro, who is the father of Marchion Ro, known as the Eye of the Nihil. Now, they're not technically supposed to be the leaders. They're supposed to be an even distribution of power amongst the Eye and the 3 Tempest Runners, but for all intents and purposes, Marchion Ro is the head dog. He supplies them with these paths that, of course, we find out later are coming from Lor San Tekka. Now, Lor San Tekka was kidnapped. She's now held in essentially a pod, a medical pod of sorts. She's around. She has around-the-clock medical attention and care just to keep her alive because she's centuries old here, as we're seeing her in the High Republic. She's been kidnapped for a very long time. And the unfortunate part about Lor San Tekka's story is she actually does believe that she's doing good still. She thinks she's still paving the way for people to travel safely, to save time, to get food and critical supplies to destinations. So I'm not sure what kind of brainwashing she underwent or if she just has that captive syndrome at this point, but it's very unfortunate to see her locked up the way that she is. Marchion Ro clearly has very little respect for the woman and what she's actually doing and supplying for him, so that's very frustrating just to read about and see. But I really do hope that her story ends happily. I really do hope that she gets saved. Right now it's looking very bleak as some of the books ended. I'm not seeing that path forward at the moment, but there's always hope. I mean, if we look back to the Clone Wars and the clone trooper Echo, he was housed in a similar situation where the Empire had taken him prisoner and they had him wired up to a system utilizing his knowledge to predict Republic movements, battle plans, and strategies. And he did end up with a happy ending. He did get rescued, however gruesome he might have looked there in the end. He did get rescued, and I'm truly hoping the same for Lor San Tekka. Now, there is a lineage here to follow with the San Tekka Clan, so Lor San Tekka may have gotten them going, may have made the family extremely influential and wealthy, but that continued for centuries. You're probably going to recognize this guy right here, Lor San Tekka. Now, Lor San Tekka probably would have came about around 260 years or so after Lor San Tekka's reign. I really can't imagine that Lor San Tekka survived much longer after everything that she's been through. Again, she's being medically kept alive essentially against her will, and there are several moments throughout the story where she is on the brink of death. There's actually one point where she seemingly is dead and is revived. She comes back and continues contributing to the Nihil in their reign. And when I say this stuff is powerful, it's powerful because the Nihil are only about 3,000 plus strong. There's a moment in the story where the Nihil are taking on an entire Republic and Jedi battle fleet, plus a third party that the Nihil just pissed off of Hunter. It's a Hunter warrior race that's coming after them. So there's huge fleets that are after this small little fleet, or contingent of 1,000 people with the Nihil. And Marchion Ro activates these battle engines, or battle paths essentially, and it's not just these long jumps through hyperspace that Mari's made possible. These Nihil are now jumping just feet in front of them or miles in front of them, short little jumps through hyperspace that actually make them go toe-to-toe with the fleet because they're so unpredictable. So these things are very powerful. Mari's very powerful, just having the ability to innately see these paths, and honestly, it's again a different type of power, but without Mari, the Republic isn't even possible. The Empire isn't even possible. These hyperspace lanes are what connects these different worlds that are galaxies apart. You know, it's hard to imagine a galaxy without somebody like Mari. I'm not saying she's the only way. I mean, there's science, there's computers. They would have gotten to these conclusions eventually, but Mari kind of created the way, at least in my mind. There's no real reference to how long hyperspace had been around prior to Mari and the San Tekka Clan really creating these journeys, creating these paths. So anyways, interesting thought there, interesting read, and I'm excited to see what they do with Mari. Again, I really hope that she gets saved, and there's a lot more to Lor San Tekka's story as well. I'll probably be creating another video about him because he took a completely different route. He didn't really continue down the family business, it seems. And who knows, maybe the family business had died off several, centuries before that. Again, this is 260 years after Mari San Tekka. I don't think she had much time left. So anyways, guys, what do you think? Is there somebody more powerful than Mari San Tekka? I mean, honestly, she can see hyperspace. I mean, that's insane. She can make those complex calculations in her head. There's even a point where the Legacy Run disaster, which is kind of the huge problem the High Republic is dealing with, she's able to see where these hundreds of different pieces of this ship that disintegrated essentially are going throughout the galaxy. She can make those kinds of complex calculations. So that's power, that's freedom, that's all kinds of things. And just thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next one.